Hello. One of the reasons why Federalism Party is something that I think we need is we need another voice in Congress. It's nice that we have a few people in the squad and Bernie to discuss things, to bring them up, but we need even more. We need stronger language. We need clear language. We need very precise language of what is used. We need to move and open the window of debate so it's not just in various very narrow lanes of traffic, but let's discuss the overall issues. Here we are approximately 2 weeks after the ceasefire. That has been a one-sided asymmetrical warfare, as it always is, against the indigenous peoples of Palestine, from the Zionist movement that runs Israel and has actually been part of the process before World War I to create a state of Israel, and what the effects ongoing are. People need to understand it hasn't always been this way. In Europe, when almost every nation was persecuting the Jews all the time, where did they find refuge? Where did they find a place to live together in peace? It was in Palestine. It is so bitterly ironic and horrible that the most hospitable place for the Jewish people to escape persecution is the one spot where the Israeli government that purports to be Jewish, but some rabbis would say is not acting in a Jewish manner or according to the teachings or the Torah, is doing this to the indigenous peoples of Palestine. It is deliberate. It is purposeful. It is absolute state-run apartheid, ethnic cleansing, genocide, colonial settlerism, if I can say that right. So many different vehicles were used and have been used with increasing nastiness and effectiveness, especially under Netanyahu, and the doublespeak that comes from the Israeli government as well as the U.S. government that supports them and supports all of this genocide and enables all of it is increasingly vicious. And people need to understand that the latest provocations were simply to get Hamas, who is actually a legal entity that is not only a political organization and party that won in a legitimate election, but one that is more to the tune of the Black Panther Party in the 60s, because just like the Black Panther Party, Hamas has been helping educate people, give them health care, really trying to do things that a government and politicians would do. Of course, they're hamstrung because quite often Israel controls everything in and out, whether it's people trying to get medical attention, it's electricity, it's gas. But of course they're provoked, and the Israelis knew they could provoke them if they pushed hard enough, going into one of the most important places of worship in the world by attacking them with the Israeli Defense Forces, which is a misnomer. They're really the Israeli Offensive Forces. And they're even using the language that Hamas is firing them indiscriminately. I will link to some videos. It is actually clear that Israel is being very specific with where they fire their weapons, and they're doing it by taking out hospitals, roads, attacking doctors, attacking even people trying to deliver food, taking out the water supply, the sewage system, the electricity, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and perpetuating the lie of human shields when it is the Israelis that are using human shields. It's classic projection, classic doublespeak. This is as Orwellian as it gets, and it's been this way since before World War I. It's not just the 73 years. I think we need to get past this. We need to get to the point that we need to open up all the windows of truth against Israel and what they're doing to the indigenous peoples of Palestine, how horrible it is, and how horrible many of the people of Israel have been in celebrating with glee, taking over people's houses, destroying them, and taking them over. And they think this is okay and part of the Jewish faith. Some rabbis would rapidly disagree with that and have been quite inspiring in their passion for the truth to let that out at their own personal expense. But here we are in America. We don't have to suffer. I don't live in the largest open-air prison in the world, Gaza Strip, which is very narrow and populated with 2 million people. You know, I'm not one of the several million people that's a refugee in my own homeland. I'm not one of the 2 million plus people that are refugees outside the homeland, none of which can come back. The insanity of all of this is the fact that the colonists and the colonizers, this process is repeated the world over. The Balfour Declaration in 1917. Where did the UK get the authority to give away land that wasn't theirs? Let's start there. Let's even go before that. Let's go into the late 1800s about what was happening and how the Zionism movement was formed and what are the tenets of that. And then fast forward to today. I think you'll find that upon more research that it is so bitterly disappointing that so little has been done to support the indigenous peoples of Palestine, when these are the folks that not only have been there for generations, whereas most coming into Israel in these settling colonies taking over Palestinian lands are not from there and may have never been from there and may never have a lineage. Yet the people that have ties there for literally generations, tens of generations, literally thousands of years, and have been the most hospitable people to the Jews that were suffering from horrific and incessant and infinite amount of discrimination all across Europe, that found safe haven in Palestine. These are the people, the indigenous peoples of Palestine, that are the ones that are continually, for more than 73 years, have been attacked. It's a 24/7 Nakba. It's not just a one-time event. It's not just the 73rd anniversary. It's not just once in a while, as horrible as these major incursions are, these asymmetrical warfare. It's vicious what's happening here. And the United States to approve a $735 million military package on top of the $3.8 billion yearly that is being used to buy U.S. weapons to attack, kill, terrorize, purposefully terrorize and kill and maim the indigenous peoples of Palestine is apartheid, ethnic cleansing, genocide, terrorism, colonial settlerism, and everything else. I get a little tongue-tied with trying to say that last term. But it's just insane that the situation keeps going on. But it's not insane when you figure out the powers that be follow the money, follow the power for the last literally 100, 200 years in the United States and Europe, and it's really not hard to figure out how and why this is happening. The harder challenge is, how do we change it? There was some change in South Africa. It was amazing. It's going to be a harder lift for Israel's government and its people to change, but it can change because it did in other places. And this is not the only country that's being terrorized by colonial powers. That all needs to be addressed as well, but this video is just simply about the indigenous peoples of Palestine, how hospitable they were, and yet they're the ones that are being attacked continuously for not just recently or the 73 years, but more than 100 years. Let's keep up the pressure.